The devolution revolution. Yeah, what are we talking about when we were talking about the devolution revolution? Go ahead.
It was taking power away from the federal government, giving it back to the states.
Yeah, when you think back to it, and when you think back to it, the federal government in the beginning, was it more powerful or less powerful than the states? It was less powerful than the states, absolutely. What you'll see over the course of kind of a growing dual federalism is that in the beginning of the country, the states were more powerful. Basically, right about the time of, say, the Civil War up until the Great Depression, the states and the federal government had roughly the same amount of power. So that's kind of the dual part of it, meaning sometimes one won, sometimes the other one did, but they were roughly the same. In the aftermath of the Great Depression, what you'll see is that federal power grew really, really significantly. And in Reagan's years, 1980 basically beginning, his idea was we need to devolve some of these functions the federal government have taken back to the states. Or in other words, we need to have a devolution revolution. Did it work? No, they've kind of stopped the growth of government sometimes, but they haven't actually cut it, if that makes sense. So yeah, the devolution revolution is kind of a failed concept at this point. What else have you got from 3?
Express and implied powers.
What was express and implied? Go ahead.
The express powers were the powers specifically granted in the
Okay.
Constitution.
Can you give me an example?
I guess having the power of the purse for the Congress.
Power to tax, the power of the purse, the budget power, these kinds of things. Go ahead.
And then the implied powers would be the kind of unspoken ones that are just granted to carry out the action.
Yeah, sometimes if you need to do additional things in order to carry out what the Constitution specifically says that you can do, then you can actually have what is known as an implied power. Absolutely. Implied power is going to be very insignificant on this, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more later. Go ahead.
What do you mean by in the beginning?
I'm sorry?
Did you just say that?
Yeah, the devolution revolution in the beginning, states were more powerful.
Oh, okay. That's what that. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, in the beginning, talking about the balance of power, if you will, between the different levels of government. Go ahead, Jonathan.
What's dual federalism?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Anything else?
Anything else we should know worry about?
What's in the beginning?
What's in the beginning? Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you have the chapter questions, or should we be talking about these at all?
If you have any specific questions in reference to those, yes.
I do.
Go ahead.
I can't pronounce it though. The politic. I can't. It's
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about that one. The politivis, that one. Yeah, that one. Don't worry about that one. Basically, that one is saying that you lose faith in the government, and it's kind of a democratic thing. Don't worry about that one.
Which one's that?
The one with the big long German word that's got like 26 letters in it. Yes.
Should we focus on
Go ahead.
the Boston Tea Party and the consequences and that sort of thing, or
What were the
the
consequences?
consequences were, I guess they put troops in people's homes and blocked off the harbor and
Okay.
that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's all it is.
All right, that's it.
That's all it is. Yeah, that's all it is. I'm serious. These questions are going to be really, really short.
Okay.
But the trick on these is that you're going to have to apply them a little bit.
All right.
And I've already got somebody that got drunk and started throwing tea into the harbor in one of the questions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so yeah, that's probably on there. Go ahead, Catherine.
In terms of in the beginning, you were talking about it's the
Well, this in the beginning is hard. Let me write this down.
federal government had more power in the beginning, and then it was
No, state had the most power, then it went to federal, then it went back to the state, and it keep flip-flopping.
No, I didn't say that. Okay, one more time on this because we're just about out of time, and I'm just about out of camera. In the beginning, the power was with the states.
okay.
Up until the Civil War, the states had more power. From the Civil War until about the Great Depression, it really got to the point where the feds and the state government were basically hand in hand. They were very, very equal. After the Great Depression, really with FDR, the federal government took a significant amount of power, and it is much more powerful than the states today. And then 1980 was the beginning of the attempt to shrink the federal government because government was the problem, not the solution. And that has failed, the devolution revolution, because government is still growing, the federal government is. What else have you got from 3? Go ahead.
Budget activity?
Already talked about it. Those were the two budget articles, so we're good there.
And conservative, you mean conservative as in traditional conservative, like Reagan era, or
Conservative, liberal, libertarian, and populist are basically the ideology test. and I'd mentioned to you in both classes the other day, the bedroom and the wallet, and understanding their relationship to those ideologies is going to be kind of important. So that's all we're looking for. What else you got?
Tax and spend.
What was the tax and spend power?
Isn't it what the government can tax you and they're free to spend it on what they want to spend on?
Okay, what was the example of the tax and spend power? Remember, with these powers, I had told you that if the government wants to pass a law, the government has got to have a provision in the Constitution that allows them to do this. Just because they want to pass a good law, if there's not a provision that allows them to do it, that doesn't mean that they can pass it. Go ahead, Emlika. What was tax and spend? What was the example? Article 1 is the example of the tax and spend power. Don't remember that part. What was the example? I'd given you a case. The drinking age. The government used the tax and spend power to attempt to create a national drinking age. Absolutely. Anything else from 3?
Privileges and
Oh,
immunities.
that one.
What was the privileges and immunities?
Unemployment benefits.
What's that?
Unemployment benefits.
Okay, what does privileges and immunities basically say? Go ahead.
You can move from one state to the other and still get the same privileges as the person who's been living.
Okay, now that's the full faith and credit clause more than privileges and immunities. Go ahead, Matt.
Wasn't the example the one where you scam the government?
Well, yeah, that is the example. Privileges and immunities. Privileges and immunities, if you remember, was basically saying that there are certain powers, there are certain responsibilities, there are certain privileges and immunities that citizens of the United States have. And they're protected within this provision. I had given you things like the right to petition government for the redress of grievances. I had given you the idea of being able to navigate or basically travel the navigable waterways. And I had given you the right to travel in a more general sense. The privileges and immunities for the unemployment benefit said that if you moved your family up to Connecticut, then indeed you could get unemployment benefits from day one, even though you had not worked or contributed into the system at all. Anything else from Chapter 3? Okay. All right.